Hey guys, and welcome to the FPL WildCats live for Gameweek 17, where we're going to try and navigate this very difficult Christmas fixture period. Of course, we do have some familiar faces back, we have some familiar faces gone, and we have another recurring guest. But before we get into that, please do hit that like button, share the video out, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel, and I'll pass over to Nim.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. Welcome everyone to the stream. Kurt is off enjoying his Christmas party, so that's where he is tonight. So joining us again because he enjoyed himself so much last time is Fantasy Football Focus. So welcome back, Graham. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good to be back.
Yeah, and we think you've got some new internet this time, yeah?
Yeah, hopefully you can keep up with what I'm saying this time. Yeah.
Let's hope so. Okay, so as our guest, we'd like to get you to talk us through your team in game week 16. Before we do that, just going to say a quick welcome back to Brett, who of course was at the FPL FYI show last week.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, good to be back as always.
Yeah. welcome face.
Thank you.
Okay then, Graham. So give us a chat through your game week 16 team.
Here goes. Do I have to? But yep, let's face the music. So Pope, no points. I scored 34 points in total. Captain flop, which I think a lot of people did do, was the Mane one where Klopp rested him. So my vice after the game week before playing well, Jesus, is who I gave it to. And he yet again, he didn't do anything for me. So captain missed twice technically. And that started to be a nightmare from there on. The only saving grace was Jimenez, Rashford and VVD. And everyone else was twos basically. So I dropped from 500k to 1 million, and that summarizes my game week 16.
Ouch. That's miserable. Sorry about that, mate. Hopefully some words of positivity tonight will help raise you back up there. So, well, I'll go next then, because it was just as poor for me. So since our last stream, it's gone a bit to pot for me as well. The 3 game weeks together were not my friend, and I managed to slip nearly 200k. Game week 16, I did get over the average with 56 points. However, I had taken a bat shizzle -4. Now, not the -4 being bat shizzle, but some of the transfers I made in that in that -4. So it really wasn't that useful actually being above the average, because obviously I took the hit. Pope, as you say, didn't get anything. He has struggled the last few weeks with those tougher fixtures, and maybe it might, when we had the chance a couple of weeks ago, might have been a better option to have got rid of him then. None of my defenders managed anything over 2 points. To be fair, my midfield was also a write-off, except Sonny, who got me 12 points from his goal and his assist. Up front is where the bat shizzle comes in, to be honest. I transferred out Muse, who was dead in form, and Jimenez, who's also dead in form, for Tammy and Rashford. So I sold Pulisic in order to afford it, having already had Mount, so I had 2 Chelsea midfielders and didn't really want to carry both forward. Now, it's difficult, is that obviously I did Muse and Pulisic out for Rashford and Dendonka, so that switch actually worked out okay. It wasn't too bad, and I didn't really have to take the -4 to get Tammy back. So as you will know from previous streams, I am not scared to go back on previous transfers, and I switched out Tammy when he got injured for Jimenez, and I knew I wanted Tammy back. So in terms of fixture-wise, it wasn't the best move to switch Jimenez to Tammy this week, because obviously Jimenez did quite well. However, I did have the exact cash in the bank, and if I didn't do it last week, then it looked as if myself having a front three of Tammy, Rashford and Vardy was looking quite unlikely in the near future. And actually, in terms of the bank, that turned out to be correct, because since I sold Jimenez, he has dropped 0.2. So I wouldn't actually be able to afford that switch if I'd left it another week, pretty much. So it meant that I dropped a bit in points, because obviously Jimenez did get that assist, and of course Tammy did absolutely nothing because I spent the -4 to get him. But I've just got to really pray that I've done the best thing going forward and having that front three, and just hope that it's a better option going forward. So that's where I am. So Brett, how did you get on in week 16?
Sure. Yeah, I think that has a chance to pay off in the future, Nim, for sure. Abraham
Fingers
at home
crossed.
to Bournemouth. I think Abraham should be a nice option at home to Bournemouth this week, hopefully. And, lots of people are jumping on Rashford now. Lots of nice fixtures for United too. So
yeah, I'm gaining a bit of money on him for sure. So.
Yeah, there's two really good players there. So I hope they can pay off for you.
Thanks, bud.
And for Graham, I mean, a low score, but it's the only difference between your score and everyone else's is just the captain, because if you'd had 26 points from a Vardy or a Salah or a Son or something with 24 points, you would have been right up in the 57, 60 points like everyone else, So it's only the captain that really let you down. Average week for me, just bang average, really, 61. So a respectable score. Like, it's a score that I was happy with compared to how my season's gone. Rolled the transfer as well, so I've got 2 going into next week. But I still ended the game week feeling a bit disappointed, because lots of people did get away with the Mane staying on the bench vice captain thing. Like, it was a bit of a let off for those people, because a lot of us knew that Mane was probably going to get benched in that one. And it's almost like the people that didn't pick up on that and captained Mane didn't really get punished for it. And if anything, they actually benefited, because they got the vice captain of Vardy, Salah, Son, but also a player come off the bench like Kelly as well, So I'm trying to make ground on these managers. 1 million people captained Mane. If he had come on for a 1-pointer, that's 1 million people that I would have brought 24 points back with captaining Vardy.
Yeah.
But instead, they all kind of got away with. Look, it's one of those things, They still have a. It's not a bad decision for them. I'm just saying, it's just a shame, really. Just one of those things. But so even though I got 61, I just didn't really rise in ranks. So I'm still in the 2 million club, just a sort of grey dot, really. I think I went up about 50,000 places. So no real gains, just sort of stuck in limbo, really. But Trent Alexander-Arnold for the 1-pointer with 50 minutes played. 10 minutes away from a clean sheet. I've doubled up on Liverpool defence all season. They finally get a clean sheet. Trent comes on for 1 point, blocks my Martin Kelly on the bench as well for 8 points. It's just the way my season's gone, really. Just little things like that, haven't really paid off. So, that's me. 61, respectable score, but no gains. So 2 free transfers for next week now.
Cool. Nice job. And Jay, yourself, how did you get on?
I mean, I suppose you could just insert everything Brett just said, -1 point, and a slightly better rank. That's about it. But 750k, I pretty much stayed where I was with 60 points. It was quite infuriating having Trent come on. Not that I had many players to come on that would have done any better, because of course I had Mane to come off, and Connolly didn't even feature. But fortunately for me, I brought in Grealish on the bench because I like the fixtures that are coming up for Aston Villa, but I didn't want to play in this game week. And of course, he did get a return, and he was who came in for Mane. But like most people, like a lot of the community, I wasn't going to captain Mane because I thought the rest was coming, captain Vardy. So it is, like Brett said, slightly annoying that people got away with that call.
Yeah, 1 million people.
Because I think before some substitutes came in, I was looking at a rising rank as well for quite a bit of the game week. But other than that, very disappointing performances from the likes of Pulisic, Abraham, in a game where, Everton raised their game because of the new manager. There still were a few moments when Abraham could have scored points. The fact that so many Tottenham assets scored kind of defeats the purpose of me having Son and Aurier, because other people would have had Ali, other people had Kane, anyone that captained him. So it was one of those game weeks where it didn't really matter what my side did, it wasn't going to see much of a rise in rank. Other than that, though, I still feel like my team is in a good place. and hopefully we can start pushing into that top 500,000.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I mean, you've definitely chipped away slowly, haven't you, at your rank, and you're definitely getting
There was
you're getting
2
nearer.
game weeks which were very big leaps, and then
Yeah.
it's been chipping away. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool. The thing that you've got now, I guess, compared to my situation, is that I've moved all my money up front. So when we discuss a bit later about the Mane with Liverpool not playing an 18 situation, I put myself possibly in a more dangerous position than say what you've got there, where you've got Grealish on the bench. So that's quite interesting. For me, I didn't really gain anything because I had Dendoncker. It would have been the same had I have had Pulisic anyway, so I didn't really gain anything there. However, in my fan team, I had Baldock come off the bench for Mane. So
That's nice.
I love to be a bit
I keep
batshizle in
forgetting
that
my
team.
fan team. I keep forgetting it.
And
it's annoying.
I've absolutely smashed it there. Got like 90 points because I had
Whoa.
Aubameyang, Vardy, and Rashford up front. So,
That's awesome. Good job,
Nice.
yeah, no, it was a really good week in that. Definitely, I've gone from being like outside 2,000, I think, to being like 700, I think, something like that.
That's in the money, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yes, in the money. Just got to stay there now.
Just out of interest, Nim, why is it that you've kind of got different team on there to this one? Is it because you're trying to like spread your bets a little bit, the players that you don't...
Prices are different as well. That's a big thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
prices are different. And I think I tend to leave that quite late. So with FPL, I'm thinking about it all week. I'm considering my transfers, all that sort of stuff. And then I get to fan team and I think, oh, God, do my fan team. And I do it last minute. And so it's real instinctive transfers. So it's whatever I can afford at the time. Because
is there price rises on there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just instinctive. I pretty much don't care about how many hits I take. If I feel like a player's going to do well that week, I'll just take a -4 or -8 or whatever and just do it. I don't even think about it. And I've just been really lucky so far that those have always paid off. So yeah. So
cool.
Let's move on with questions. So guys, be sure to get your questions in the chat and we'll definitely get round to you if we can. But for now, we've got some questions from Twitter. So at Blades Attack, a regular question asker, asks, is captaining Vardy a brave move this week? We've already seen Zaha, Sterling, Richarlison and Wilson blank against Norwich. Vardy is going to blank at some point. And the way FPL is, it kind of feels like it'll be a fixture like this rather than Man City the week after. So, guys, what do we think? Do we think it could be a brave week to go differential? Now, Graham, you obviously tried it last week, so I'm assuming this week you won't be trying to be so ballsy.
I'd say go with Vardy. Why not? This season, Leicester on absolute fire.
Yeah.
If you've got Vardy, I haven't. If you have,
okay.
Go with him, because he's England free, so he's got more energy this season, which is obviously paying off. And their league form speaks for itself. They're the ones chasing Liverpool. And it's Jamie Vardy. So, yeah, go for it. I don't see Norwich keeping a clean sheet at all. And if anyone's going to score, it's got to be Vardy, hasn't it? That's my view on it.
Interesting. Brett, what do you think?
Just quickly, Graham, why haven't you got, out of interest, why haven't you got Vardy? What's kind of...
I can't afford to make that switch up front. I've got Rashford, who's quite high priced. Who else have I got? Jimenez, Jesus now, who was he paid off one game week for me. Mind you, he did do a nice hat trick last night. Was it a hat trick?
It was.
Yeah, it was.
It's hard to sell someone after that, isn't it? I suppose
he's just doing a Sterling. Doing well in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Nothing when it comes to the Premier League.
Oh, don't say that. He'll score loads this week now you said
that. Well, I hope for Graham he does score loads.
Against Arsenal, he really could. So I get what the guy's saying. I mean, in the question, he says, is a brave call to captain Vardy. I think it's the opposite. It's not brave to captain him, but I get what he's saying, because there have been players that we've targeted against Norwich, like Sterling. When I captained Sterling against Norwich, I brought in Callum Wilson at home to Norwich. So a lot of big players have kind of flopped for me against Norwich. So if he's anticipating that, then it's an opportunity for him to try and gain the ranks if he goes somewhere else. So for someone else, you know. So it's a brave call to go against Vardy this week, is what the brave call is, you know. So if he thinks he's onto something there, and that this big player could blank against Norwich, and because he's so heavily captained, probably 1.52 million people are going to captain Vardy again this week. Why wouldn't they? There is a chance there to pull back on a lot of people if you do go against the grain. So people that do captain Salah or Mane or even Abraham, maybe, you know, could pull some points back.
Jane, your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, because of the question, I thought I'd have a look back and see who has actually managed to do well against Norwich, just to see if there were captaincy armband calls that would have gone the right way for you. And in that list were Aubameyang, Rashford, Abraham, Mohamed Salah in Gameweek 1. So I think it's one of those where, yes, there's been players that have disappointed against Norwich, but there's been plenty of captaincy options that have done rather well against them as well. And there's a list of 8 players who have had at least 2 goal involvements against Norwich in the space of 16 game weeks. So I feel like Norwich are improving. Like, there was a period where they were really bad, and they are better than that Norwich when we were targeting the likes of Wilson, and we all thought it was a sure thing. But I still think there's points to be had against Norwich, and it's not like a lot of the other teams where they've changed their manager. We're not sure if they'll become a bit more shored up in the back line.
Yeah, true.
They've still got the same manager. He is someone that seems to be stuck with his philosophy of playing a certain way, and I think that lends itself for players to score goals against them. So I know I'll be keeping it on Jamie Vardy, because I tried not captaining him once, and it was the wrong call when I owned him, and I'm not doing it again until he's either broken that record of his or I'm proving wrong.
Yeah, it is a tough one, because I'll tell you why. I had a dream about Mane.
Right, so what transfer am I making them? I've got my team up.
Let me take notes.
I had a dream about Mane smashing away loads of goals this weekend. I think it was Wednesday night, and I woke up immediately wanting to switch my captaincy to Mane because, well, you know why. That said, I haven't been brave enough to stray away from Vardy yet, since I bought him. Basically, I got him right at the beginning of his run, and I've captained him every single time, and he hasn't let me down. So it's really difficult, as you say, Brett. I think it is braver to almost not captain him.
For sure.
And I'm just not sure I've got my brave pants. I went batshizle last week and it went wrong. So I feel like I need to kind of be a bit more reserved this week. So I think I might be putting my captaincy on Mane in my fan team and keeping the captaincy on. Yeah, keep the captaincy on Vardy just to in the FPL, just to cover all bases really. But if I was brave enough, I think I would be going with Mane in FPL as well. But yeah, it's a difficult one because it is right, isn't it? Like, if so many of us captain Vardy, and I think it's kind of cool to have somebody here who isn't, in a way, in Graham, is that so many of us that captain him, the one week when he doesn't do something is going to be the week somebody like Graham could seriously make, like you said, make some serious gains. Because unless all of us own the player that he has that Halls as his captain, then he's going to benefit from that.
This is why, for me, being as low ranked as I am, Mo Salah is such a tempter this week. Because he's at home to Watford. The history between the clubs looks a great fixture. Everyone is captaining Vardy. So if I did want to climb the ranks like mad, you could triple captain Salah and hope for the best, because it could massively pay off and, help you catch all the, people that are captaining Vardy. But it just feels like there's a time and a place to measure up these kind of risks, and it just doesn't feel like the right time. Not at home to Norwich, and because Vardy is on this streak now of 8 games in a row scoring, because he's getting close to his record of 11. That can only help his teammates, give them more incentive to want to pass to him, because they'll know that he wants to break that record or match it again. So, every time they can square it to him, they're going to. Do you know what I mean? They're going to constantly try and help him break that record. So I like that about him too.
The thing is, though, usually when they've got to break a record is exactly when they never break the record, and you wait for weeks for them to do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I should have said that last time we broke the record.
Yeah, true.
This is Jamie Vardy. He's already got his canary celebration lined up. I know he is.
Yeah, true.
That was for you, Nick.
Okay. At FPL Tips, hi Tips. He was asked on the show, but he's also at his Christmas party tonight, and so we're watching the show back. He's asking Richarlison. He's got a good run of fixtures after Man United. Is he worth a differential punt? Personally, he's looking at selling Jimenez after Norwich to get him. So what do we think? Jay, what do we think on Richarlison?
He's one of those players that I've always been against owning. I've been burned by him so many times, even when I think he is going to go on a good run, he doesn't. When I don't think he's going to go on a good run, he does. He's not a player I'm particularly good at calling whether he's going to have a good run of form. So, remember that with this answer. There are some fixtures I do like in there. For instance, I like the fact that he's got Arsenal at home. I think that's a great fixture for them. It does depend who comes in as well and where he's playing. But I think if Ferguson's still in charge at these points, I think he's got them fighting for their places, fighting for the badge. They've got Burnley at home as well. They've got Newcastle away and Brighton and Albion at home. So there are fixtures there that I definitely think you can take advantage of. I potentially think him playing in the front two might be beneficial for him. So I'm interested to see that happen more than once, because he did it with Calvert-Lewin against Chelsea. So it's one I'm watching, but it's really one I'm not confident in calling straight off the bat.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I've just been told that Jota has scored 4 goals.
Yeah, I know. Jota looked really good last game week
and
as well.
then Donker got a goal as well. He couldn't have done that on the weekend, could he?
Again, Jota is one that I'm like, don't do this to me, Jota. Because Jota's a player I really like, and I would have loved him to have started the season off well. But maybe he's just one of those players that doesn't start season strongly and needs to get some time to...
I think he was injured a bit this season as well, wasn't he?
Just the fact he's not a midfielder really hurts his appeal. That's the one thing. If he was a midfielder at a price...
Ready for the Jota train.
Choo choo.
Well, Wolves fixtures...
No, it's all about Dendonker. Come on now.
Wolves have Tottenham, Man City, Liverpool in the next 6. So I'm not particularly interested in Wolves. So I might regret saying that, but I don't think I'll be doing Jota.
Cool. Sorry. So we can go back to Richarlison.
I think I finished with my answer to Richarlison. I don't know yet.
So what we go with Richarlison, we've got 6 goals and 3 assists at 7.8 million and 7.1% owned. I'd be looking to sell on Mount soon, so he's a bit too expensive for me, but he could be a great little differential, I suppose, if he continues this form. And therein lies the issue with Richarlison, is whether or not he'll continue the form, because he's such a patchy player, or at least he has been in the past. And I find it difficult to place trust in him, a bit like Jay, I guess. Then again, when I did have him last season, he did very well for me. So, on previous experience with him, he's done well for me. He does look a good challenger for Maddison at the moment, who has 5 goals and 5 assists for 7.8 million and is 27.4% owned. So if you wanted that Maddison style character but wanted somebody differential, I guess he's kind of in that bracket. It's just whether or not you can kind of trust him in that. Brett, any wise words on Richarlison?
I wish I had wise words.
What, in general or just
in general? Yeah. I don't know. I'm just not sold on Richarlison, but it's just quite surprising because he has scored in 4 of the last 5 games, and because he blanked in that fixture at home to Norwich. We're just talking about Norwich and players that are blanking against them. That's when people lost patience straight away because they even took a 1-week punt, brought Richarlison in for that Norwich fixture. And then we thought, well, the fixtures are turning for Everton now. They've got to play Leicester, Liverpool, Chelsea, I think Arsenal and United. Good time to get rid, and now he scored in like the last 3 games against Leicester, Liverpool, Chelsea. It's just this price that puts me off really, because if you are right, Nim, if you're looking for a differential at that price, you don't want to go Maddison, then yes, Richarlison's an option. But Maddison just seems like such a better option to me. So I'm just not sold on Richarlison personally. I know that's not really a wise word.
I think the big issue is the fact that there's so many midfielders around that price. Not necessarily that price exactly, but around that price that are appealing options right now as well.
Yeah, with Richarlison, it's like it's one of these players that he's hard to have patience with. Like, if you had him in for like 2 weeks and he blanked in both, you were like, this is a mistake. He's quite a hard player to stand by. That's the problem with him. So if I brought him in now, if I like caved and brought Richarlison in, and then he went on and blanked in the next 2, I'd be like, wish I didn't buy him. That's my issue with him. I lose patience too quickly with a player like that.
He's your Callum Wilson of midfield. That's what he is.
Winston.
Wilson. I tried to say Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because actually my perception of Callum Wilson was the opposite this season. I thought, I know Callum Wilson will start scoring soon, and then he just didn't. I actually waited and waited and waited with Wilson for 5 game weeks, which is quite a long time.
You were literally out at sea with no food left, like half a bottle of water left, and you were there doing my favourite gift, like, wow,
I know. And can you believe in those 5 game weeks, not one shot on target?
Nothing.
Incredible.
But to be fair to him, he's continued that form, so at least you can't feel guilty about selling.
For sure. But yeah, like players,
that bottle has sunk to the bottom of the ocean now, and it won't be popping up anytime soon.
Yeah, he's just dropped off the face of the earth, hasn't he?
It has. It's crazy. So weird. It's kind of a bit like Pookie, isn't it? Or like he just literally dropped off and then all of a sudden bobbed back up, and you're like, where did he come from? One of my mini league rivals has hailed him all this time. In the last few weeks, he's like cashing in on him. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, I'm sure Wilson at some point this season will tempt a few people again if he gets back in. But yeah, that's my feeling on Richarlison anyway. I'll just lose patience too quickly with him.
Yeah. Graham, anything to add to Richarlison?
Just in regards to what the guy was saying about Jimenez, obviously Jimenez has the harder fixtures with Tottenham, Man City and Liverpool. So Richarlison really, since Marco Silva's left, it just seems like a weight lifted at the club, and they're playing better instantly. But it's too short a time to tell if that will carry on or not. And I was yet again one of these guys who was on him last season, but not for his points. He'd always get points when I didn't have him. So overall, Richarlison is just too much of a risk for me. But if the guy is saying Jimenez, then why not give it a go? And differentials can do you some good if you get the right ones.
Okay, cool.
It's a good point, that actually, just really quickly about the new manager, because those that have kept patience with Richarlison have got 3 in the last 3. Now Silva's sacked. They might have this new manager bounce, which we saw in the last game. So that might help Richarlison even more,
Absolutely.
True. Okay, Brett, can we have a question from the chat?
Sure. Just firstly, Brian Ewell says, Nim is dreaming about Mane. Aguero is truly yesterday's man.
Never. He's never yesterday's man. I'm just, looking at my options.
Only when you only dream about other players when Aguero's injured.
Yeah. That's allowed.
That's real loyalty, that is. You're injured? Okay, let's have a look for my other options.
They're on a break. It's okay.
They're on a break. I've gone to the shop for some milk.
Does he know we're on a break?
Okay, so Razvan asks, what do we think about Martial? Obviously, back into form in the last game week, scored a decent goal. Anyone considering Martial?
We did have a
I was gonna
very
say.
similar question. I think it came from one of the few questions
Yeah, it's
that we
Martial
got.
versus Rashford, I believe.
Sir Sonsoro, yeah, Martial versus Rashford. So for me, I'm biased as I own Rashford. So for me, simple answer is Rashford. But what about you guys?
I mean, if I was going to put it simply, I'd also say Rashford. Because
Yeah.
I think Martial's slightly injury prone, whereas I feel like Rashford has been slightly better this season than Martial in that regard. Not that Rashford can't get his injuries as well. But we're looking at a player right now in Rashford that seems very on form since Martial has come back into the team.
Mm-hmm.
And that Man United side has improved, seemingly against better opposition, which is my slight concern, because I'm worried as soon as they come up against someone that parts the bus, we're going to see that Man United that can't break down the defence again. Whereas they've been playing your teams that have pushed against them and then they've been able to counter-attack. However, I think they've beaten AZ today, like
I was
3-0
just
or
checking.
something like that.
Yeah, and he wasn't involved in any of that, although he did come off at 59 minutes.
The fact that I'd imagine AZ, not that I'm massively knowledgeable about Dutch football, I know a little bit, I'd imagine AZ would have set up to have a strong defence against Man United, and they've managed to break down that defence, which gives me a little bit of hope that they can now beat some of the easier opposition and Rashford can be one of the players to score. But for me, Rashford it's not just the stats, because he's had 6 goal involvements in the last 4 game weeks, 4 goals, 2 assists. It's the fact that when I watch him, he looks like someone that is wanting to score goals, that can score goals. It doesn't even have to be inside the box. He can score from outside the box. He's been hitting the crossbar, the post, and then still getting the goals. So I would definitely have to say Rashford if I had to pick between the two. As for Martial, I think he will have his purple patches where he'll do really well, but I can't look past Rashford.
Oh God, it was infuriating last week having just transferred him in and watching him hit the bar and just going wide. And I was like, oh my God, if he'd just got all of those in before everyone else got on him, I would have been looking at a green arrow rather than a red. But yeah, it was a bit annoying. I just got to hope that by getting on early, that hopefully those that may be getting on him now will maybe need to be taking hits, to move around their team to free up funds.
Why would you wish that on me then? I'm looking to get him in. Why are you wishing that?
I was going to say, man, dog
just
eat dog out here.
As soon as I get a little bit close to you in rank, you're like, oh no.
No, as soon as you get a bit close to me in rank, I just drop a bit further to make it easier for you.
That's appreciated.
I just think, why not help him out a bit? Graham, do you have any more thoughts on Martial and Rashford?
Rashford owner here, so absolutely back in Rashford. Another obvious thing is that he is on penalties. So, well, mind you, with VAR being in poor form, you shouldn't really rely on penalties. But when he does get them, he seems to put more in now than what he used to. And he's been heavily involved in points for my team. So, I'd go Rashford over Martial.
Now, I mean, if Brett had said that, I would have said, well, there comes the penalty blank on the weekend. But the lads will tell me off if I say that to you because you knew. So that'll be nice. Okay, so we may as well finish off the other.
Misses a penalty.
Yeah, you can say it. That's fine. From Sir Sonoro, and because he also had a few other questions. He said, what to do with McGinn? He's been so disappointing the last few weeks. Should he move up to Grealish or someone else from Villa's midfield? So as you know, I jumped off of McGinn a few weeks ago as McGinn's sisters were Jules Breach for some time, and she's managed to kind of stick with him. He is a great player. There is no doubt in that. And he has potential every week to get points. Like, he definitely looks keen and hungry, and he's always there or thereabouts. Grealish, however, does seem to be taking the lion's share of the points of Villa at the moment. It's like he's just become kind of the main player there. What I would say to you is you've got through some of the tougher games now with McGinn. I don't think there's a desperate need to sell him as such, unless you've basically just had enough of him and you want to try somebody else out in your team. And if you are, that's understandable. For me, it allowed me to get another player that I wanted by making some changes. I changed McGinn to Son. So for me, it's worked out okay. But there are definitely plenty of great options. But I do see potential in him. What do you guys think? Because I don't know if I'm just being a bit dreamy about him because he's been so good for me and I just dropped him for that bad run of fixtures and was actually considering moving back to him again at some point. Am I just being dreamy, or does he look a bit like he could, he could go on a bit of a purple patch at some point? Brett, what do you think?
I had McGinn for a while too. And I have to admit, as quality of a player that he is, I was actually surprised by how many returns he was bringing. He actually got more goals than I was expecting. He had maybe like 2 game week 3 scored back to back. And he's been really unlucky with VAR, I think, as well this season. Yeah. There's been a couple of times where he's either just been offside or it's just been taken off him. Quite unlucky, I think. But at 0.3 million more, I just think Grealish is a much better option now. Since Grealish has returned in the last 4 game weeks, his stats have been outstanding in terms of touches inside the penalty area, shots inside the box. They're all much higher than McGinn's. So in terms of like football, McGinn is just as good of a footballer as Grealish. But from an FPL perspective, being in the right places, more attacking, I think Grealish should produce a lot more points over the next few weeks. So there's merit in holding McGinn because they do have nice fixtures, like you say. Sheffield United away next, but Southampton and Norwich in back-to-back home games over Christmas. The good thing about McGinn and as well as Grealish is they're both nailed. They're going to start every game probably, which is good. But yeah, if you've got no other fires to put out, I think McGinn to Grealish is a good move, personally.
Cool. Graham, anything 2 or 4?
Where do I begin?
Hey, love it.
Had
taking on the curtain.
See, that is why you're on the show. Those little pearls like that.
That was quality.
Yeah, I knew I had to contribute at some point. So there you
44
go.
minutes.
44 minutes.
So he's scored below 3 points in his last 5 games. So obviously not going well for him. And then if you look at Jack Grealish last season, he got punched in the back of the head and still scored. So absolute hero. And then he's in right form at the moment. So I've changed my managing way this season to just going with form rather than decisions and risks. So just follow the form this season just to try and rank better. So
he
in
says
that
not
case,
owning
I'd go for Grealish.
I didn't want to be the one to say that.
Sorry.
It's only his second time. Wow. Getting rid of McGinn and Aguero. Now you're already having pops at Graham.
Sorry.
You can't have them all.
Savage Nim.
You can't have them all.
That's true. That's very true. Very true.
So yeah, Grealish.
Yeah, me too. Go for Grealish for sure.
Yeah. Okay, Jay, anything to the contrary on that?
No, I've been one that's wanted Grealish in for ages, but just didn't bring him in because of the fixtures at the time. But I've always thought with his advanced position and cutting in when he's fit, Grealish is the one to go for.
So you are rocking what up front right now and in midfield?
Who,
Jay?
me?
Yeah.
So midfield is Grealish, De Bruyne, Son, Pulisic, and Mane. And then up front is Vardy, Abraham, and Connolly. Although I want to change Connolly, and that potentially is going to be done by changing De Bruyne.
Yeah, and that's something we can definitely touch upon next. But to continue on with the couple of questions that we had, if I can find it again. from Sai. He says, stick to Salah/Mane for the blank or sell because of the fixtures. Now, I know this is a bit of a big one because we had a similar question from another regular at FPL_JRF. And he said, considering Mane isn't going to be captain choice for a few weeks now, beg to differ on this week, is it worth holding on to him or is it better to move him on for someone like Son or Martial instead? So, Jay, what are we thinking? Salah, Mane, stay, go? What are you doing?
I mean, I'm staying with Mane. Mm-hmm. There's the potential that I've seen that some people have considered that now Salah looks like he's starting to get back to the form we expect of him, that now would be the time to transfer Mane out, especially if you've had him from the beginning because you've made some cash on him with the tough fixtures, and then you can bring Salah in when the fixtures get slightly better if you were wanting to not have a Liverpool asset. But I just don't feel like I can go into any period of this season without the league leaders, or like one of the league leaders' main players. They still have Leicester breathing down their neck. All it takes is 2 or 3 games where they don't get the win, and for other teams to get the win, and then it's not their title race anymore to lose. Everyone right now is speaking as if they've won it outright. But they've been in this situation before where they were league leaders. It looked like they'd broken away from Man City, and then Man City brought it back. And I know Man City don't look like the Man City from last year, but again, Man City had a period where they lost to Palace. They were losing games they weren't expected to lose. So there's no chance I won't have a Liverpool attacking player. And I just think, for me, I'd have to figure out a way to bring him back in, and I don't want that headache. And hopefully the rest of my team would be strong enough to be able to carry a Mane and a Salah. Not that you want to carry a player like that, but if we really look at their opposition, who do we think they're going to lose to right now? Because they've gone and beaten Man City. So who are they going to actually struggle that much against, even if the fixtures are that tougher now? So I can't see myself getting rid of someone like Mane just because he's not going to be my captaincy option. Because, to be honest, right now, he isn't. Vardy is.
I think it's more that people are probably thinking about the blank. So for me, I was like, when I first read this question, I was like, straight off the bat, not selling Mane. I've got 0.2 in him. It's not a massive amount, but I don't actually have that money in the bank right now. So I'd have to hope he dropped the 0.2 in that blank game week, or I would have to try and find that 0.2 from somewhere else. For me, now I would have Dendoncker playing possibly instead, or I have to try and find a defender and go 3-3-4 that week. So I think it depends on your team structure is what I'm saying, because obviously if Mane's been one of your main players and you don't have many backups, that blank game week could be a bit of a tough one. And we've seen how volatile the market is this season. So there is every chance that Mane could drop, 1.1, 0.2 in that week. And, could be easily affordable back for the likes of me, who has been on him fairly, probably not as long as some of you guys, but definitely, feels like a while now. In terms of whether I would go back to Mane, whether I'd go to Salah, it's really too early to tell right now. I'm happy with Mane and I'm not feeling too panicky about, having to get Salah back in terms of what, how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I just don't feel panicked enough to feel like I have to switch. So if I got rid of Mane for the blank game week, I would look to be getting Mane back. I wouldn't think, oh, he's got that particular fixture next, I'm not going to bother. It would be a straight person in for a week, person back again. But of course, at the moment, I don't have the budget to do that. I am considering switching Mings to Kelly this week, which might leave me that leeway in the bank. But I'm still deciding. But yes, long term, Jay, I'm kind of with you there. I don't want to be without them.
I think also a massive issue is the fact that game week 18, where they blank, is the same game week as Chelsea, Tottenham, Leicester, Man City. So the issue is you've got a lot of your other big players that are going to have tough fixtures and you don't really know which way they're going to go. But that's what makes the likes of Rashford, for me, look like a really good option, because Gameweek 18, they've got Watford.
Yeah.
So I still feel like there are players out there that can do that role for you for that one game week, which is why it feels like making a move to try and gain an advantage for one game week, and then I may regret it and be trying to like clamour back for that player.
Yeah. I definitely don't feel like I know yet, if you see what I mean, because I can definitely see your point of view, and I can definitely kind of not see the advantage, but if the option is there for 1 week, I might consider it. However, I just don't know where I'm going to be transfer wise or anything yet. So for me, I'm still quite undecided. What about you, Graham? So you Mane, you Mane, I'm assuming.
Yep, that's
Mane,
right. Yeah.
And you thinking of sticking with him through this difficult period? Will you get rid of him in the blank game week? Undecided.
I'm feeling to stick with him. It's got me loads of points. Obviously, can't do that in a blank game week, but then I don't want to lose the value.
Yeah.
I've also got someone I said to you earlier, considering KDB, like getting rid of him, and probably bringing someone like Son in. And I think that Son will do well, even with tough fixtures. I think Son will get in on goals. I thought he was a great player last season as well. Managed to get on him early last season, but not so this season. But yeah, I'd hold Mane.
Yeah. And Brett, you the same?
Yeah, I mean, a lot's been said already. I mean, it sounds a bit rich coming from me because I don't have either of them, but I wish I did have Mane or Salah, of course, for this Watford game. What I would say is to kind of change your perspective. I think people make a lot about a blank game week. So you have Mane and you see a blank game week, it's like, oh, maybe that's a chance for me to get someone else in. But if there was no blank game week, but he was out injured for 1 week, you would just bench him, wouldn't you? You wouldn't sell him. Like with Kevin De Bruyne got injured for 1 game week, we were like, oh, it's only short term. We're definitely just going to hold him. Just put him on the bench. No problem. So it's the same as having a blank game week, I don't think I would let it worry me too much. It's just imagine him being out for 1 week. You just bench him. So I get what they're saying, because the fixtures after the blank aren't as appealing. Away to Leicester, obviously, it looks a tricky one. They're defending well. But for me, the moment I bring one of them back in, which will be after the blank probably, or maybe after the Leicester game, I'll be keeping them for the rest of the season then. I won't bother getting too clever with it anymore, I don't think.
And then they'll have a double game week at some point.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's a good point.
I mean, to be honest, I think I was more erring on the side of selling Trent than I was on selling.
That I can understand.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking maybe I might go to just like a Leicester, another like Pereira or something for the week, and do it that way and go for at the back instead.
I can understand that, because I really backed the Liverpool defence this season. So I thought Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, they've got as much of a ceiling to get 15 points than Mane and Salah do, and they do have that. Yeah. Obviously, it hasn't quite played out well because they've conceded one in almost every game. But the problem is, there's less justification in holding Robertson and Trent because there's so much value in defence at the moment. There's so many cheap defenders this season that are all doing really well. Thanks to Leicester, like Evans and Soyuncu, and then Sheffield United with Baldock and Lundstrom. They're not even getting clean sheets, but they're getting all these attacking returns as well, So, and then, Villa's fixtures are getting good. We've got Matt Targett, who's attacking, Gilbert, who's getting clean sheets when he's in the team. There's lots of these budget defenders that are actually proving quite good value. And they're 2 or 3 million cheaper than Trent and Robbo. So that's where I can understand selling them, because even though their ceiling is so high for those two, Robertson and Trent, there's so many, even Willems and all these defenders are coming in my head now. There's so many attacking good defenders for cheap, so.
Yeah, that was kind of my thing, because it'd be point 2 there as well, but just kind of I think with Mane, I think more likely to see the price drop, because I think he'll be the more obvious move. So I think in that respect, he'd be an easier one to buy back. But I'd feel more confident almost selling Trent than I would selling Mane just because I know I want to keep Mane going forward. So it just kind of feels like the more obvious option.
Someone in the chat just said Kelly as well, like Crystal Palace defense.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got more budget options there. Cahill, Kelly. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to deal with that this week. So obviously I have Mings. Although, when was their press conference? Was that today or is it tomorrow?
Hopefully tomorrow, actually, because I want to see what the Matt Target situation is, because I'm considering getting Target in. So
yeah, I mean, if I hear anything that says that Mings is possibly sticking about or he's not too far off, then I'll probably just ride it out and try and keep the transfer, and then get a bit more news on him next week and have the 2 transfers then. But yeah, at the moment, Kelly's cheaper and doing better as well. So it kind of the temptation just to do the move now and get it over and done with feels, quite good. So let's actually, Brett, has there been any questions about KDB in the chat? Because I feel like we could do with having a bit of a kind of chinwag on the KDB situation.
No comments about him, but he is the most transferred out this week. So definitely a talking point,
Yeah. Jay, you're considering selling KDB, right?
Yeah.
Give us some lowdown on your thoughts on that and who you're thinking of switching him for.
Fact of the matter is, eye test wise, he's still passing the test there. Yeah. He's close to getting attacking returns, which is what really worries me, especially with the fact that the next game is against Arsenal. Yeah. I'm just like, it would feel slightly early to maybe transfer him out this game week. But because of that game week 18 where the fixtures get tough to really read, and the fact that Marcus Rashford right now looks like a very viable option for me. KDB
so that's
is where
your
my
way
money is.
to Rashford.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be Mane. Even with blank, it's not going to be Mane for me. And just when your money's in a player of that price, you want some sort of regularity in the returns. Even if it's every 3 game weeks, it's an explosive score. Mm-hmm. It needs to be something where, when I'm then looking at the stats after watching all the games, he's not even appearing in the top tables anymore, apart from chances created, but the chances aren't going in. Mm-hmm. And it's the confidence in the Man City side has dropped. And then also when they do have good performances, there's so many good players there that it's not always guaranteed that Kevin De Bruyne or any player is going to be the one returning. So the fact that David Silva is pretty much just behind him, I think, if I'm correct, as far as returns goes in FPL, and he's so much more cheaper. I'm like, do I really need Kevin De Bruyne when that money could then be put into maybe doubling up on Tottenham attack or looking at getting in Rashford? There's so many slightly cheaper options that are outperforming him. And then that money can be used to strengthen my whole team, which in the Christmas period I think is vitally important, because I think last year the rotation wasn't as bad as we all assumed it was. And I think we're now thinking the rotation won't be an issue, but there will still be rotation, especially for the likes of Liverpool, with them now having to play in I've forgotten the name of the tournament, but wherever they're going to play.
Club World Cup.
Yeah, Club World Cup. Yeah.
Club World, yeah.
So they're playing 2 different sides within a short space of each other, with 2 different squads being sent out. So rotation is going to be an issue. And I think with Chelsea, you've got the fact that there's young players and they've got quite a strong squad that they can rotate some of their main point scorers. I just feel like my money would be spent elsewhere to make sure I'm at least getting 11 players that are scoring points.
Yeah, we did actually have a question on Twitter. So it was at Frank Walsh 82, and he said KDB to Son after this game week. KDB is still ticking the boxes, but those around him are not finishing the chances. And actually, there was a reply straight underneath, which is a point I've made recently on this, is Dad Lad Bants FPL, great name. I think I'm keeping my eye on Aguero. If he's back, I think KDB could be back on top. But I am selling Trent to upgrade Zaha to Son after this weekend. So that was my point actually made when it came up. I think it was Joe, Fancy Football Scout Joe, that was discussing the whole KDB issue. And for me, KDB really needs Aguero and Aguero needs KDB likewise. They just, they go like jam and toast, basically. they go well together. And and
Lynn was making a very interesting breakfast there.
And so I think we do need to know on Aguero. There's not been very much discussion about him. Whenever I read the press articles on Pep, there's not many people asking, how far off is, Ollie always gets asked about your likes of Pogba, for instance, but you don't really hear much in Pep's in press conferences about Aguero, so we don't really know how far off he is. What I've been finding the last few weeks is that City are pushing so hard to get goals. Like, they just need the goals, especially when they go a goal down in a game, that everyone is flooding that area. And you can almost see KDB going, whoa, there's way too many people forward. I need to stay back a bit. And I need to make sure there's somebody in this area in case this turns around and goes backwards, which means that every chance he seems to be getting, and this is all just eye test from me, this isn't stats, but it just feels like every chance he seems to be getting then is kind of further outside the box. Now, we all know, and he has done for us, he gets some worldies from those positions. He's capable of doing them. But it definitely isn't allowing him that freedom that he likes of being able to move in and around the box and, create those little chip assists and crosses and stuff that he usually likes to do. And like Jay says, that's resulting in players like David Silva or whatever picking up on those points as opposed to him. Whereas I think they're doing that because they haven't got a likes of Aguero who's that main focal point up front. Because Jesus will create and get into those gaps as well. And it's just pushing other players forward. Whereas Aguero kind of dominates that front area. So not many other people kind of try to step into his space. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this properly, but I feel like he kind of takes ownership. This is my area. If you come into it, there's got to be a reason why you're coming into it. Whereas I don't think Jesus does that. He blends in with the other players, and he will see another player come in and he'll try and, be clever and step out the way and those sorts of things. And it's just meaning that other players are getting further forward and getting those points as opposed to KDB. So I think it's important we know what's happening with Aguero. Because, for instance, in my team, I could get Ali and I could move a Mason Mount up to a Maddison. So I'd be getting two fairly, good informed players there for the price of one, seeing as Mount seems to have dropped off a cliff a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. What do you think, Brett?
Yeah, it's my opinion might not be a popular one. I mean, I still got De Bruyne at the moment. And obviously on Twitter, whenever the question of De Bruyne being sold comes up, even because it started to spring up about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. And
everyone's like, never sell De Bruyne. Season keeper, never sell him. But I was still like, I'm thinking to sell De Bruyne, and yeah, he did get like a couple of goals then as well. But yeah, I guess.
Just imagine you there, the pussycat going, I'm thinking to sell De Bruyne.
Yeah. Exactly that name.
Everyone is telling me not to, but I'm going to anyway.
This is the problem. Yeah.
Who is Brett talking to, by the way?
It's Cat.
Oh, just the cat. Okay.
The accent as well. The accent. Got some weird German or Russian accent going on.
I'm just happy he's not doing that to his family or something. He's just sat down in front of his family, got the cat.
Yeah, I do have a cat as well, to be fair.
Good.
Yeah, it'd be scarier if I didn't, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. Just using the neighbour's cat.
Just some stray from outside, yeah. Just pick up some random cat. So for me, De Bruyne, if I'm honest, like this season, he actually, I know he's got 200 points in the past, but when he was getting the 13-pointer and the 17-pointer at the start of the season, that actually surprised me. I didn't think he had those kind of holes in him. I thought of him as more of an assist here and there, rack up the points just slowly throughout the season. When he was getting these 17 pointers, that kind of shocked me. I was like, oh my God, yeah, KDB is essential. People were right about this, but it has sort of tailed off now. He's ticking along, but he's the sort of player that if I sold him, I wouldn't work. I don't think I could see myself scrambling to get him back in again. I think I could last. I think I could be like, you know what? I don't have to get De Bruyne back. You know, when I sold,
but I lived through those halls of not owning him, and that was that hurt. I tell you, it was tough owning Sterling, watching KDB.
I'm sure.
I know it every week.
I know it is, especially when everyone else is buying him, and everyone's getting him in. Same happened with Pookie. It was like, oh my god, everyone's buying him. I'll have to get him as well. I don't know if I see him getting these 17 pointers again and really exploding like he did. I'm probably going to keep him for the Arsenal fixture just because it is Arsenal. There'll be a lot of chances in that.
Oh yeah, there's no way I'm getting rid of him before that.
And then I will make a call from there. But
I need to smile about something watching that match.
Painful.
Could be Emery's final game, so that could be what you're smiling about.
Emery.
Good evening.
Yeah, at his price, like Son is the same price, and when Son gets a double-digit haul, you think Son could easily do that again next week. Like just by watching him, you think, oh my god, he's looking so dangerous. And yes, De Bruyne is playing amazing, he's creating lots of chances, no doubt about that. But if he was to get another 15-pointer now against Arsenal, I wouldn't think, oh, there's going to be another 15-pointer coming next week, or it wouldn't worry me too much. I don't. That's just me, though. I know that might be unpopular, but I'm not too worried about selling him, actually.
I'm only worried about selling him if I know Aguero is close on the horizon. That would make me concerned, because I really do think he's a completely different player when Aguero is on the pitch. Like, it just, I can see those hauls again of those, all those assists and that, and those goals again. I can see those coming back if Aguero's back anytime soon. But without knowing, not having that knowledge as an FPL manager, at the moment, there are probably other assets, better owned for less money or about the same sort of price as you said. And but yeah, he's a definite no sell before Arsenal in my eyes.
Can change quickly. So if he bangs in a massive point haul against Arsenal, then I'll be like, oh, thankfully I did keep him. Then it'll probably be hard to sell him. But at this moment in time, I just feel like I'll be all right without him.
Yeah. Graham, what's your thoughts on KDB?
I've been thinking about wanting to get him out, but definitely not against Arsenal. Being an Arsenal supporter, as much as it hurts, it's clear to see we have no idea how to defend. So Man City are that attacking team. I watched them against Man United, and it was beyond me how nothing was going right for them. All the crosses were going too far. And it goes back to the point that you said earlier, Nim, about other people getting in on the haul. So your David Silvas, your Bernardo Silvas, Mahrez coming in and getting on the points. So there's a lot of points and options for Jesus up there. Whereas KDB seems to analyse that and go, do you know what? I don't need to necessarily be that goal threat. Yeah, I'll put the odd ball in, but last game, every ball he was putting in, no one was getting on the end, or it was going out of play. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, against Arsenal, there's definitely capability of points there. So keep him for that one. And then after that, I don't want to miss out on Son.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different if you don't own any Spurs assets, I think. Then obviously, I think he is the fast track way to that, isn't he, really?
Absolutely, yeah. Full of energy.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Brett, do we have any questions in the chat?
Sure. Alexander Choi says he's got Pereira, Soyuncu and Lundstrom as his three sort of playing defenders at the moment. So a double up in Leicester there, and obviously Lundstrom. He says Leicester have got Man City, and I'm planning on getting rid of Pereira. Which defender should I bring in? So he's got almost enough money for any defender in the game here. And obviously, like he says, Leicester are playing Man City and Liverpool in back-to-back games after Norwich. So, what do we think? Any defenders that he could be looking at? Nim, what do you reckon?
There's a couple. You could consider Evans. He's one of those ones that's kind of flown under the radar.
From one Leicester to another? Would you? I mean, is that?
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it, with those fixtures? I mean, the thing about Pereira is he has that attacking threat as well. Man City haven't exactly been brilliant.
I think he scored against them last season as well, actually.
Did he? Oh, that's
Scored a rocket
interesting.
against them, yeah.
So, I mean, I've got Soyuncu, and I'm not going to worry about those two fixtures, if I'm honest, even though he's not quite as attacking as Pereira is. But doubling up is difficult, I think.
I think long term the double up is good, but yeah, those two.
Yeah, those.
I mean, he's been
You
brave
could-
to
yeah,
get that. I don't know how long he's had that double up, but that's probably
Yeah.
benefited him a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, maybe it's hard without knowing his other players. So obviously you could look at Palace. I don't think you need to think about, I need to go to somebody as expensive if you're going to sell one of them, because I just think this year, at least in the defender spots, we're not having to worry too much about the cash, are we? Let's be honest, it's all worrying about that midfield and up front.
Yeah,
I genuinely don't think you need to think, I have to match him for price,
I have
because
to agree. I can't think of a single defender that I'd bring in at Ricardo Pereira's price. Like they're all cheaper.
Yeah. Agreed. I'm just
Baldock.
looking at the list. Yeah, Baldock. I mean, but then he's got Lundström, and then it'd be doubling up on.
Yeah.
I mean,
if I was him,
Kelly.
I'd be tempted to look
Doherty, maybe. I mean, he started coming back into it a bit recently, but
the one that
Doherty
stands out
looks
to me-
good, but fixtures don't.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting rid of Pereira due to the fixtures, so clearly he's thinking fixture-wise. Therefore, Doherty, maybe he wouldn't like that option either because of the fixtures too.
Spurs defender, maybe.
I'd say Aurier or Sidibe.
Yeah.
Those are the two that
Yeah,
jump out to me.
Sidibe's a good shout.
I'm not saying they have a run of like no hard fixtures. Both of them have like Spurs have Chelsea in game week 18, and they have Liverpool game week 22. But apart from those two, Aurier seems like he's part of their attacking five when they go forward. In the attacking phase, he's often bombed forward, and Lucas Moura can cut in. And then with Sidibe, he looked very good in that game against Chelsea. And once they're past Man United, Arsenal, Burnley, Newcastle, it is Man City in game 21, but teams can score against Man City at the moment, and then it's Brighton Hove Albion. So I think those would be the two I'd probably be looking at. And they're both cheaper, so you could use that money somewhere else.
Yeah. Or just ride it. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, if you've got some other options on your bench, or you can get other options on your bench, cheaper ones, then maybe just ride it, you know? I mean, they're two of the better defenders, if not, where were they on the list?
The thing, yeah,
I mean, Pereira's the top, the top scoring defender in the game at the minute, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Defense is difficult this season, though. You just can't really hang your hat on any defenses, even Liverpool, Man City. It's really tough.
I mean, last season we would have just said, to Leicester, okay, get Liverpool, you know, but obviously it's difficult, isn't it? Yeah. Personally, I think if you can find some other options with the other two defenders that are cheap that you could play in those times, I would probably just hold him, to be honest. But I think Jay's made a great shout there with Sidibe as well. So it's a possible switch if you have to.
Yeah, someone like Kelly, you know, like you say, as a bench option, he's more than playable for the next five, really. You know, Palace could keep clean sheets in any of those five. Brighton at home, Newcastle, West Ham, Southampton, Norwich. There could be 2 or 3 clean sheets in there. And then it provides cover for Pereira, and then you can just play him back once they've got rid of the Liverpool and Man City fixtures.
Yeah,
cool.
Okay, we'll take one more then, please, Brett.
Okay. Right, there's actually one left. It's from Brian. And he says, is it worth binning Trent? This is kind of another defender question now, actually. The only one left. Is it worth binning Trent to get more cash up front, say to go from Mousse to Rashford or Abraham? So I'm guessing have we all got Trent here?
Yeah.
Graham, you got Trent?
Oh, VVD here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do we think? Jay, I mean, would you consider selling? I mean, actually, Nim, you've already mentioned maybe selling Trent. What about you, Jay? Are you considering to sell him and free up some cash?
The only issue is just he looks like he can assist at any time. Like if if that chance wasn't there, literally every game I watch and every time I look at the stats afterwards, he's creating the most chances for defenders in the league. It's just that hope that he gets that clean sheet and that assist, and like it just looks like it's there, but it just hasn't happened. And to be fair, just the clean sheets don't seem to be happening for most sides. It's really the sides with cheaper defenders that seem to be getting the clean sheet points. So for their next run of fixtures, and with the inevitable rotation, I could completely understand someone getting off of Trent for this period. You can always go back to him. It may take 2 transfers to get back to him, but I can completely understand someone considering moving off of Trent. Myself, I just feel like as soon as I go off of him, he's going to get that return of a clean sheet and 2 assists or something really big.
It's always the way.
And I'm going to regret it. And I see Liverpool scoring against all of their opposition. Even the Leicester game, I see them scoring there. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to win, but I do think Liverpool will score a goal in that. I see Liverpool scoring against Tottenham in Gameweek 22. So he's one of their attacking outlets, and I don't think I'd be happy with not having him in the side and then that return coming in.
Yeah, it is. It's just tough because I just worked it out now. Pereira is 15 points ahead of Trent this season. It's difficult because he's cheaper. He's 7 cheaper than him, so that frees up a fair bit of dosh really. I'm like you, Jay. I struggle to sell him just because of his potential, to be honest. But I think with the blank and some of the fixtures, you could maybe consider it short term, for a couple of game weeks if you wanted to, and then, possibly switch back if you wanted to.
The frustration is, like, I know people might disagree. I genuinely believe the people that have held Trent and Robbo this season have actually been quite unlucky. I really think they've been unlucky. Like,
thanks, dude.
I do, because
I think you're very brave to have kept 2. Like,
yes,
that takes some courage, because I believe that there should have been returns there. It was logical to see returns there, but as soon as they didn't come, I got rid of them.
Yeah, the reason I say that is because apart from the Everton game that just happened in Game Week 15 recently, they were only conceding 1 goal every time they lost a clean sheet. So if you look at the best defensive records, they were still at the 2nd or 3rd best defensive record in the league, but they didn't have the clean sheets like the other teams did. So in my opinion, Trent and Robertson are doing the hard bit. They're doing the rarer part in getting the attacking returns, which defenders don't often get. But they weren't leading the defensive points because all the other cheap defenders are getting the clean sheets. So the cheap defenders are getting the 6 points for the clean sheets, and Trent and Robbo are getting the 6 points from a clean sheet wipeout but an assist, right? The problem is, if they, in all those games where they got attacking returns, Trent and Robbo, if they just didn't concede that 1 goal, they'd be looking at probably 3 bonus points because they got an attacking return plus the clean sheet. So that 6 points turns into like a 12, 13 pointer. That's why they can be so good, because if they get the attacking return and get the clean sheet, which they've been so close to getting, that's why their ceiling is so high, And if they just didn't concede that 1 sloppy goal in so many of those games, we would have been looking at double digits for Robertson and Trent, That's what worries me, because there's not many defenders that can do both in a game. So I get it, because of the blank fixture away to Leicester. There's a couple of games there where you think, I can probably survive without Trent. We've said there's lots of good budget options. But I just feel like once they can turn a few clean sheets over, that's when Trent and Robbo can really deliver big points. And that's kind of what I was waiting for, because I knew everyone was dropping the Liverpool defence, and I was having such a
I think you're good.
We're after the watershed. It's fine.
We're after the watershed.
I think that's the first time I've sworn on WildCats.
You didn't even finish it though. You had the wares to stop halfway through.
I'll add it in a bleep later.
Yeah.
Because I'm having such a shocking season, I thought, well, I might as well stick by them because they're differential having both now. I'll just hope for those clean sheets to come and the big returns to come, But yeah, I can see the merit in selling Trent now. But that's just kind of my reason for why I would hold them, because they can deliver those big scores, you know.
And it's arguably where Liverpool's faults are this season, I guess, is the fact that they're not keeping those clean sheets. That's possibly what's, leaving them in a situation where they are compared to Leicester this season, because we've seen more of the clean sheets going Leicester's way. And, and they're still managing to score as many, if not more goals than Liverpool. Graham, so you've got Virgil van Dijk, so you've kind of not Robertson or Trent, which I think is quite brave in itself. How are you feeling about it? Because I mean, a couple of weeks ago you must have been absolutely like ka-ching, thank you very much. With your 2 goals,
but 17-pointer.
Yeah, that doesn't come around very often, does it? Really?
I wish that I did have them 17 points. I got him in after.
Oh, no.
I was ka-ching, but with a hole in my pocket, so it was all ka-ching on the floor. Unfortunately.
So what are you thinking? You're thinking, that's it now. I'm done. I'm getting off. Or you're going to stick by your man, seeing as he cost you so much.
I think I'm going to have to now. Just see how it goes. I've got other fires to put out before that, and defensively I've got Pereira there, so I mean, who else do you really go to? I've got Lundstram as well, so I've got a few options basically, but other positions that are prioritised will need prioritising first.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay, Finn asks the toughest question: Vardy, Mana, or Salah captain this week? So obviously I've kind of covered it a little bit, saying that I'm quite tempted by Mane, but I'll probably chicken out and go Vardy. Brett, I guess you're Vardy, seeing as we touched upon it earlier on in the stream, but would you consider anyone else?
Of course. I never like to pick someone's captain because it's such an important decision, It's easier for me because I don't have either at the moment. If I had Salah this week, it's just a gut feeling that Salah, watching that Champions League game in midweek, Salah had so many chances, unbelievable chances. And we know the reputation against Watford. He looks, I would be tempted by Salah for sure.
Jay?
Vardy. Why change? It's been working so well.
Yeah.
He's literally changed my season since
I'm literally waiting for the 1 week when he blanks, just because it will make things so interesting, won't it? Everybody will be
then I'll transfer
I don't know what to do now. I don't know what to do. Do we captain him? He's let us down 1 week.
He's proven to be a flat track bully. He scores against the smaller sides.
I feel like
everyone's worried because he's not generally scored against the big sides.
Yeah.
Apart from Arsenal, he does like a goal against Arsenal.
He loves to score against
Arsenal. I believe he scored against City last season. But generally, he's not one to score against the big side. But yeah, I can't look past Vardy. It's made my weeks easier because I'm just like, you know what, it's on Vardy. I'm fine. And then I don't worry about it.
I just don't like that it's a 3:00 kickoff though. You can't really watch it, and they just fly by.
I prefer that.
Yeah,
it's less stressful.
We'll have Jules telling us.
I like not having to watch my captain, and then it gets to 60th minute. He's not done anything yet. 70th minute. I like the fact that I just wait for my phone to ping and go, Leicester goal, Vardy.
No, I think it's been so fickle, so I am waiting for the 1 week when Vardy doesn't do something, because I do just think it's going to be so interesting. Because look at Jimenez, he's done absolutely nothing to be sold by FPL managers, yet people are selling him by the droves. Now for me, he was just my stopgap for Tammy, so I never really felt like I wanted to keep hold of him long term.
Maybe that's the same for most of the community then.
Yeah, it could be. It definitely could be. I'm not ruling
if he drops low enough, I'll think about bringing him in.
Yeah, well, why would you? Jota's going to score the goals from now. But I know you were considering him a couple of weeks ago, and and I'm not afraid to kind of reconsider again. If Tammy is now kind of, maybe I got back on at the wrong time or whatever, and Jimenez continues to keep doing well, I'm not going to be scared to switch back. You know, I'm happy to keep that position open there for sure. I'm not definitely kind of stoic on it, but yeah, I really want to captain Mane this week. Really have the gut feels for it, but I won't do it because Vardy would just be captained by so many in FPL that after having such a bad game week last week, if it didn't pay off with Mane, I would, you know, be looking be looking in a really sad situation basically. So I'm not going to risk it, but I will definitely do Mane in my fan team, because last week I really fancied Aubameyang as my captain and that worked out well there with, you know, so
I guess Mane had the rest as well as opposed to Salah, so that makes Mane more appealing for sure.
Yeah, true. And that's what I wanted to say over the Rashford and the Martial point earlier as well, Brett. So thanks for reminding me there, because obviously Rashford had the rest tonight where Martial played. So, Graham, you do not have the option of Vardy. So who are you going with this week?
I've got Mane, so it would be Mane.
Yeah.
But if I did have the option,
so you're hoping my dream comes to fruition then.
Yeah, hopefully.
Cool. It'll be good, bud. It'll be good.
There's a lot of good options this week. Beyond them three as well. Rashford, Tammy Abraham.
Yeah.
I'm going to be interested to see what the community's top 3 captain choices are. That would be interesting to see.
Did you say you would go Salah over Mane if you had him, Graham?
I would, and I think Mane's been brilliant, but I think Salah's kind of just coming back in the picture and just saying, "Look, I am back." He looks really good.
I've sorted my ankle out now. I'm fine.
Yeah, move over. That's my space, Mane.
Yeah, true.
You see him have a little argument in the season.
Well, I'm just going to put this out there. It's probably going to be Sterling this week, top scorer.
that wouldn't surprise me either.
That's fine. Yeah. No one has Sterling still.
I'm sure some people do. In fact, let's have a look what percentage owned he is, just for curiosity, before we move on to Jeff's corner.
Just under 30%.
Is it?
Don't quote me.
If you want to get the polls ready, Jay, because we'll go to them after Jeffers.
The polls aren't there.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Sorry.
Because I still haven't figured out this new YouTube studio stuff.
24.8% owned. So he's still quite...
Okay, he's dropped from last time I looked then, which is good.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so Jeffers Corner. It's quite a Christmassy themed one this week. So, which Christmas movie character would you like to be, he asks. You would be in the scenario written into the movie. But for this question, he says, this isn't me, this is not me. Jeffers says Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Now, I think that's a debate all on its own, personally.
Look at every single Christmas list of the best Christmas movies. Everyone has Die Hard in it.
I mean, Sky Christmas movies right now, Die Hard is there, so...
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yeah, the PC version. Yeah. Brett, do you think that, that Die Hard is a Christmas movie?
I do, actually. I mean, it's always on at that time of year, isn't it? So
yeah, it's set at Christmas, isn't it? Surely that makes it a Christmas movie.
I know the movie itself, maybe isn't meant to be Christmas, but because it's always on around that time, it makes me think of Christmas when I see it, you know? So
yeah. Cool. Okay, so Graham, which character are you going to be? Which Christmas character would you be?
Kevin! Home Alone. So, yeah, getting the paint cans out. Brilliant impression there.
Jay's out.
You need to captain De Bruyne after that, then. That should have been your answer to your question about who you're going to captain.
Yeah, should have thought about that. Yeah, definitely. Home Alone is my favourite Christmas movie. I'll never, ever get bored of it. Watch it every year without fail.
Yeah, it's lots of fun. Jay, and yourself?
Brian Yule says Rocky 4's an Xmas movie. Can I
Oh,
vote for that?
if you want to, are you going to play
I
Rocky?
I was going to be Home Alone. My answer was going to be, because as a kid, I know that probably would be scary for some kids, but it would be awfully fun to just prank adults for like 20, 30 minutes. And then also I could have been Kevin's dad, because then I get to leave one of my kids behind. And, other than that, if I had to think of something else, maybe Grinch. Because I can get a bit moody because I work a lot over Christmas.
I was thinking that actually. I'm quite a Grinch.
Depending on how the FPL season's going, Grinch.
True. Boxing Day could be pretty Grinch-esque, couldn't you? Really, is that your answer, Brett, or did you have some others in mind?
I didn't know what the question was coming, so I just quickly Googled Christmas movies. Sorry, Jeff. I'm always rubbish at these. There's a movie called The Holiday, and it's like a rom-com.
Yeah.
And one of the guys gets with Cameron Diaz, so I'll just be that guy. It's like some country house, and Cameron Diaz is like his girlfriend or something. So that'll do me.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
well, if Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie according to Jeffers, then I doubt I'll get away with Selena Kyle as Catwoman. Suzanne Walker, I think it is, in Batman Returns. That's always on around Christmas, or it's set in Christmas, so I'm not going to get away with that one. But that one would be quite fun.
No, he didn't say that wasn't allowed.
Oh, no, it's
he was
true.
very specific on which one wasn't allowed, so you've got around that.
That's true. I could say that one, but if I had to choose like a real Christmassy one, I would probably say Suzanne Walker in Miracle on 34th Street. So, because I quite like that. It's quite a Christmassy movie. Although it would be absolutely mad fun to be in the Polar Express. I absolutely love the Polar Express. It's like one of my favourite Christmas movies ever. So that could be quite fun as well.
Jingle All the Way.
Yes.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yeah.
Get the Turbo Man doll.
Love it. Yes, there's probably loads that would be like so much fun to do. But yeah, I hope that's answered your question, Jeffers. And thank you everyone for joining us. I'll just pass over now to Jay to wrap us up.
Yeah, unfortunately, no poll questions. Hopefully, I will eventually figure out where they are on this new system. But thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you have enjoyed this stream, please do subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to hit that like button and share the content out on Twitter or any other social media. Check out all of our social medias, Twitter and Instagram. And we will see you guys next time.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.